Would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chris, could you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Detzel?
Here.
Mr. Yoshimura?
Here.
Ms. Bradley? Here. Mr. Gilbert?
Here.
Mr. Detzel?
Here.
Okay, we're going to start this evening off with a special presentation, the Colerain High School Landslide Reconstruction Project Update.
Yes, we're going to have the Kleiningers group come up and give a presentation on what had to be done in lieu of the landslide.
Okay.
Good evening. See, are you going to pull it up on the board here a second for me?
We can't see it.
There.
Okay. Why did they put the thing here so we can all see it?
All right. So as you guys are aware, we had a landslide that occurred out at the high school site, right behind the baseball field, earlier in the spring, and Chris McKee had contacted us to come out and take a look at it and create drawings that we could use for contractors to bid in order to stabilize the slope. Borings were obtained. We got a geotechnical engineer. We got borings. We went out there, did the analysis that we could. We surveyed the area of the scarp, which is where the slide occurs. Talked to the geotech engineer, figured out how far down we anticipated the undercut to be, and then quantified everything, and then had bid documents that we put together at that point. During construction, when we were out there, we thought that we were going to have a toe of the slope at a certain elevation, and when we were cutting in that toe of the slope, the contractor found nothing but just slop material down there. We couldn't get something hard, so we kept going down a little bit more and more. And then once we got down far enough, the geotech engineer said, you know what, no need to go any further down. We can bridge it by utilizing fabric and number 2 stone. And so that's what the first change order that you guys approved was the fabric and the number 2 stone that was placed in order to create a base to build that new slope off of. So you can see based off of this picture over here that that little keyway down there that's right along the bottom line, that's where we keyed in the slope with this fabric and the number 2 stone. So that little notch down there that's on the very bottom. So by doing that, we created a good stable base. However, since we were deeper than than was anticipated, it did cause more slope to keep sliding into that area, so the contractor kept pulling it out. So if you look at the green line on that drawing, the green line is the original line that we anticipated as far as being able to cut into the slope and bench it and fill material placed on that and coming back up in lifts and creating our good safe slope there. That was not the case when we cut the undercut in and towed the slope in. It did the profile of that red line there, so it actually kept caving in every time we were cutting in and moving around there. And so that was your biggest overage for this project. And what that did is that created about 2,100 cubic yards of excess material that we needed to remove out of that slope in order to create a stable base in there. That was the big piece of it. In addition to that, your letter also talks about there was a building that was encountered. It was an old buried building. This whole slope was nothing but just old fill. People, I mean, they literally just pushed this stuff into this 30-foot ravine years ago. So you can see from the pictures what kind of a mess we were into. That at the bottom there is actually a pretty good sized dozer that is buried, completely buried over the tracks and everything. They had to get it out of there with a track hoe from the top. So that's the kind of conditions that we ran into out there. In addition to the building, we also found under drains that were never daylighted out the side of the slope, which was probably a lot of the reason that was causing this slope failure. And so we did tie in those under drains into our storm system that was put in there. So now those are free draining and not blocked off, holding water in the slope. So all the water's getting out of there. So those are all of the change orders that we had. From a number perspective, the original base bid was $136,440. We recommended, with it being a soils-based job, we recommended a contingency of 20%, hoping that that would cover everything. So that put us at $163,728 for the project. And then as we got in, we had the first change order, which was $17,770. That was for the stone and the fabric in order to create that stable base. And then we had the structure that we uncovered and the under drains, and the combination of those two was $5,000 extra. And then the 2,100 extra cubic yards was the big one, and that was the $42,000 extra. So total cost came to $2,210 for the project. So we were able to, if you look at your change order agreement, you'll see that we actually got, I think, $1,400 back because we were able to shorten some of the curb area that we had put in there originally. So you guys should see that credit as well.
So it's $201,000.
$201,210, yeah. Does anybody have any questions on it?
No treasure chest or anything buried in there, too?
Oh, we were hoping.
Yeah, me too. That would have been nice.
And when we did the,
Finished?
huh?
When will this be finished?
It's done.
It's done.
It's done, and there is grass growing on the slope now. That was when they were seeding and strawing. That picture was probably taken, I'd say, a little over a month ago. But they got the grass seed in there, and it did take, and it's starting to turn green on the slopes now.
So they'll be ready for baseball season?
Yes.
How does this angle here keep from eroding? How can we confirm that this is not
Well,
eroding?
it actually, so it comes over, and the asphalt path up there now has a curb on the backside of it that stops the water from going on over, and it directs it down to a catch basin. At the other end, we had enough slope that was coming to the catch basin that it's going to get into the catch basin without sheeting over top of the hillside. So you're not going to get surface erosion. It goes down in the catch basin and into the pipes, and then pipes out down at the bottom.
Great.
And you can see, I think there might be a picture. If not, there's giant rip-rap rock down at the bottom at the outlet where the water is outletting, so it slows all the water down before it gets into that stream and everything. So it shouldn't have any other type of erosion issues. And we would have loved to have known in advance kind of what that toe of the slope had as far as the material goes, but there was no safe way of getting a drill rig down there. So we drilled from up top and kind of figured out what our profile was on the soil. And then when we got out there, unfortunately, it was a little bit different when we got to the bottom.
Okay. Okay, anybody else have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on. Joe, do you have a legislative update?
There is no legislative report at all.
Okay. Jim Butler Tech?
Yeah, just that we had our all boards meeting last week, and all the students that were here in their classes, and that was really interesting. You could go in and they could tell you what's going on in their classes, and that it was. I know Diane was here, and Todd, and it was pretty interesting just seeing those kids.
The showcase.
And I was in the new mechatronics lab where Mr. Campbell was a teacher with our district for 20 some odd years, and he's now out here. And so I was talking to the kids, and I guess we have 15 kids from our schools that are in that class, and the 15 of them are on track all to get their associate's degree. So that is something that's, pretty spectacular, I think, for our kids and for, Butler Tech and the mechatronics engineering class. So that was good to know, and I'll update everybody once it gets closer to graduation. But it looks like they're all on track to get their associate's degree.
That's awesome.
And that's it.
Okay. Okay, now we'll go to reports for employee organizations. Do we have anybody from certificated licensed employees? You can just come up to the mic.
Language Arts. I want to thank you all for allowing me to share my thoughts about the critical need to pass the levy. As a product of the district, an employee of the district, and a parent in the district, I believe my experiences have made me well-versed in what happens to a district when a levy fails. After the levy failed in 1977, I was one of the students who didn't get to attend school for the month of December as the district tried to save money. That month of not attending school, coupled with the blizzard of 1978, put me and many of my classmates behind, and I vividly remember struggling in the 4th grade because I believe those 2 months out left us unprepared to move on. While I don't think school will be closed again for a month, I do know that a failed levy will cripple our ability to offer our students the best education possible. A failed levy means a loss of staff, a loss of dedicated professionals who have been honing their craft and powerfully impacting their students. It also means much larger classes, which will result in less time to interact with and meet our students' individual needs. Now, maybe more than ever, we have realized that students need more one-on-one time with their teachers for there to be greater understanding. But a failed levy means even less time for that to happen. The levy at this point is about need and not want. Due to the massive funding cuts enacted by the state, we have had to do more and more with less. The failure of the levy would take us to a bare-bones district. Students would get the minimum level of education allowed by the state, and don't think for a moment that that wouldn't affect the morale of the students. I am afraid they would feel devalued. I want every student who attends Northwest Local Schools to be empowered by their experience. My 3 stepsons, all in college now, were inspired and found their passions at Colerain High School. They are all 3 very different, yet they each found their niche. Sam had theater, Nate had football, and Noah had robotics. These were extracurriculars that kept our boys focused on maintaining their academics to guarantee they could continue to participate in the passions that have informed their career choices. But now those extracurriculars are in danger of being cut if the levy fails. People say that strong schools build strong communities, but I think strong communities build strong schools because they know those schools serve as the foundation for lifelong learning, the inspiration for finding passions, and using those to pursue a career with purpose. Northwest Local Schools did that for me, it did that for my children, and the passage of this levy will ensure that tradition for our current and future students. I hope everyone will join me in voting yes for our students by voting yes for the levy. Thank you.
Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you, Carrie.
Do we have anybody else? Yes.
Hello, everyone. I'm Victor Richter. Everybody likes to call me by my first and last name wherever I go. Every principal I've had, and I've had 6 in this district because I've taught here 21 years, anytime they announced my name, it was always Mr. Victor Richter. So I'm a Spanish teacher. I'm also a product of the school district. I grew up pretty close to where our superintendent grew up. I grew up off of Houston Road. I went to Pleasant Run Elementary, I went to Pleasant Run Middle School, and I went to Northwest High School. I'm a graduate of 1990, the class of 90. To be honest with you, I really enjoyed my education, and I didn't know if I wanted to be a teacher, and so my first year in the district was as a long-term sub. And it all came rushing back, and I've never left. And I'm here to advocate for the levy as well because the time I've spent in the school district, I've seen what happens when levies fail. Not to be dramatic, I lost many good colleagues because levies failed. The students lost good teachers because levies failed. We lost, I remember one year, and I believe it was 2006, we had a levy that failed. And the next year, 26 teachers left Northwest High School, which at that time I believe had 72 teachers. we lost so many teachers. And when I talked to them, you know, many of them asked me why I was staying, and I said I didn't want to give up on our community, and I didn't want to give up on the kids, and I had hope for the future. And many of them, and I still keep in contact with a lot of them to this day, they miss our schools. They miss Northwest, because that's where I taught originally. They missed being there. They didn't want to go, but they felt like they didn't have a choice. I don't want to see that again. The next time I saw that was when I've been teaching at Coleraine for the last 10 years. And after we took our 3-year pay freeze, immediately after that freeze ended, we lost a lot of teachers again. And a lot of them didn't want to leave, but for them, they felt like they didn't have a choice because financial constraints, etc. But I think what I found harder the second time around was, you know, I was a parent. I am a parent still, sorry. I'm a coach. I coach girls tennis. And, you know, the bus rides with the girls to tennis matches or with my students from time to time after school, they would ask me why certain teachers left. They would ask me why they're gone. And I didn't know what to tell them other than they needed to make a choice, and that's the choice they made. I don't want to be in that position again. I hate when kids come back to visit and the teachers they want to visit are gone. We are in this job because of the kids. I'm doing the job I do because of the kids. I love my students. I love teaching where I teach. I'm not going anywhere, no matter what. I will say that. Well, as long as I, you know, have a job, I guess. But I really hope that the community rallies around our schools. We are definitely a no-frills district, that is for sure. We offer a lot at the most minimum level that we possibly can. I've talked to many members of the community. My parents live in the community. My niece and nephew attend Northwest High School. My, well, I'm Hispanic, so my cousin niece and my cousin nephew, they attend Houston, or I believe they're still at Houston Early Center, Early Education Learning Center, and we have conversations all the time about what's going on. So my hope is that the community will rally around our schools. And for our school board, I will say I hope that you all continue to work for the best interest of our schools, for our students. I remember in the mid-2000s watching school board meetings and just being shocked at how some people were against the school or would find ways to talk and demean myself and even demean our community. It would, I was mouth open. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm Hispanic, so I have Spanish brain, so forgive me. I was going to say boca abierta, but I couldn't believe listening to what I heard. So I hope no matter who's on our school board that we can work together, work with us teachers. Come talk to us. My wife has been mad at me because I'll be all night watching school board meetings and watching Coleraine Township trustee meetings because I want to see what's happening in my community in which I teach. And I hope that we can all work together in order to make the future bright for our school district. Because right now it is bright, but if this levy fails, I'm very concerned as to the future. So just wanted to put that out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you both for not only speaking, but driving out here. Sorry this meeting was further away, but we like to do at least one meeting a year to get the rest of the board members and Waycross out here to see what opportunities our students have in the district and the different facilities. So we try to switch it up each year. So thank you very much. And you're both making me feel very old because when you talk about the failed levy and the energy thing, and I was doing good there until you said you were in the 4th grade. Because I can remember sharing Northwest High School, where as a high school student, we had to get up and be there very early in the morning and be out so that Coleraine could come over and attend school the second half of the day, each day, because of the energy crisis. So I just hope we don't get anywhere down that path again. So. Okay, do we have anyone from Classified? Anyone from school-related organizations? I have not received any requests for community comments, so we will move right into certified retirements and resignations. Todd?
Yes, the first item is a certificated licensed personnel item, is certified retirements and resignations. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certified retirements and resignation as listed.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Okay. Motion passed 5-0.
The next item is a classified personnel item, classified retirements and resignations. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Okay. Motion passed 5-0.
Okay, good evening. First, I'd like to ask the board to dispense with reading of and approve the September 23rd regular meeting minutes as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any additions or corrections for the meeting minutes from September 23rd? Okay. That jumped ahead before I pushed it.
Motion passed 5-0.
Okay. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Next is the September financial report. Our all funds balance at the end of September was $61,427,000. Our general fund unreserved balance was $28,826,000. Our revenues for year-to-date are at 39%, and this is also because we've already received our second half taxes through August. And our expenditures are at 23%, which is trending right around trend of 25% through the year of the end of September. Our investment weighted average return is 2.07, and this is declining as the interest rates in the market are going down. And the list of monthly bills were our routine annual bills or monthly bills, as well as we had some technology purchases per our technology replacement schedule, master facilities project expenditures, student and financial software. We had severance payments. We had the Colerain High School slope reconstruction, transportation software, textbooks and materials, a vestibule installation, our BWC self-insurance fees, and some instruments. With that, I'd like to ask the board to approve the monthly financial report for the month of September as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any questions regarding the fiscal items? Okay. Motion passed 5-0.
Next is the resolution to approve the advance of tax monies from the Hamilton County Auditor. This is so that we can request weekly advances for our tax dollars that have been collected by the Hamilton County Treasurer, so that we can receive our monies prior to when they do their settlement at the end of collections, and that way we're getting the interest on the revenue versus the county. So with that, I'd like to ask the board to approve the resolution to allow for the advance of tax monies from the Hamilton County Auditor as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions? I'd just like to thank you for being on top of that so that the district does benefit from the interest versus the county. Motion passed 5-0.
Next is the authorization to file a modified tax budget for the 2021 fiscal year. that per the ORC, the county is allowed to offer school districts a modified tax budget, so where we are only submitting the funds that we collect taxes on versus all funds, since we operate on a fiscal year versus a calendar year, such as other municipalities. So with that, I'd like to ask the board to approve the resolution to authorize filing a modified tax budget as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any questions? Okay. Motion passed 5-0.
And finally, I'd like to ask the board to accept the amended certificate of estimated resources of $158 million as approved by the Hamilton County Budget Commission as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Questions? Motion passed 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
The next item is a general business item, Colerain High School landslide reconstruction project. In order to adjust a contract previously approved by the Board of Education, it is necessary to properly document the addition or deletion of work scope, which will increase or decrease actual cost. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the change order as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any questions on the change order? Okay. Motion passed 5-0.
The next item is a resolution to award contract, Montford Heights Elementary HVAC control system replacement out of urgent necessity. It is a resolution dispensing with statutory bidding procedures due to conditions of urgent necessity. The superintendent and treasurer have received a quote for the project and recommended that the board accept the quote of MCOR Services for the replacement of HVAC controls at Montford Heights Elementary School in the amount of $107,000, $250,000.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Is there any questions? Okay. Motion passed 5-0.
The next item is a business item. It is a donation. Struble Elementary's PTA donated 6 document cameras to be used in the classrooms. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the donation to Struble Elementary as listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Questions? I want to thank Struble PTA for the generous donation and all our PTAs. I don't think anybody would disagree that we couldn't do everything that goes on if it wasn't for all of our PTAs and our booster organizations that help out on a daily basis. So we really appreciate it. Mark, did you vote? Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is vendor contracts. The superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the vendor contracts as listed. All were within our budget for the year.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Questions regarding vendor contracts? Okay. Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is certificated licensed personnel items. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certificated licensed personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Questions? Okay. Motion passed 5-0.
Next item is a curriculum and instruction item, High School Forensic Science 1 and Forensic Science 2 course for the 2020-21 school year for information.
Todd, I think we're on, did we do classified?
Oh, I skipped classified. I will back up. Classified personnel items. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved in second. Questions? Motion passed 5-0.
Sorry about that. I think my battery is dying in my mouse. The next item now is curriculum and instruction. The curriculum department, in conjunction with the building administration and teaching staff from Northwest High School and Colerain High School, will be seeking approval at the November Board of Education meeting for the following new courses for the 2020-21 school year: Forensic Science 1 and Forensic Science 2. It is our hope that these new semester courses will be of high interest to students seeking to earn the third science credit required for graduation. We believe that these courses will allow students to see how science and math can be applied in the real world. This is for information. We will bring it back at the November meeting for action.
Now, I remember when our oldest daughter was out of high school and she really got into that, all the CSIs, and I remember her saying to me, man, if I would have known that was science, I would have really liked that. And when I saw these course offering, I thought, you know, this is neat to tie it into something real life so that the kids can see, you know, what opportunities they would have. Just made me think of it.
I do have a question. There's a lot. Are both of these courses offered at both high schools, or are these only offered at one of the high schools?
We're going to, after our conversation, we are going to have the program of study list every course that Northwest Local School District offers so that it's available to both students. Obviously, what we can offer and actually provide will depend on student choice during the selection process, as well as our staffing and certification. So the intent is for these two courses to be offered at both high schools.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Next item is a miscellaneous item. It is Neola Board Policy Revisions. You have all of the policy revisions that we have been meeting with Neola and discussing. They are for information only. This gives you time to look at all of them. If you have any questions, please let us know. We will bring them back in November for an action vote.
Okay.
All right. First of all, I'd like to thank a couple people for arranging tonight. Chris McKee for working with John Graff and the Butler Tech staff for allowing us to meet here, and Matt Fisher from our technology department making sure that all the computers and everything is up running. And then I'd like to thank Skip and Waycross because they go wherever we go. So it is much appreciated, everybody who put time in to make this happen tonight. Lastly, it was a rainy weekend. It was a long weekend. And for those of us who delivered flyers, it was kind of rewarding. I did not have a lot of people meet me with a negative greeting. They were very curious, very interested in what we were passing out. I cannot tell you the amount of students, staff, parents, and district employees that worked as hard as they could from last Thursday on to make sure that flyers were passed out to our community. We have worked trying to bring our staff together with our parents to see that there is a common goal here, and that is, as our two teachers said earlier, it is about our kids. It would be devastating if this levy does not pass. We will continue to work hard for our students, but it is very important that we do everything we can to make sure that our parents vote next Tuesday. We have 12,900 registered parents to vote. We need all 12,900 of them to show up to the polls and vote. So we have phone banks left to call. We have messages that will go out, but it makes me, as a person who is a product of this district, who grew up in this district, very proud to be a part of this and to work with such outstanding staff on a daily basis. The devastation starts when you lose the fund if you don't pass the levy. But by passing the levy, we keep our outstanding staff. And it takes a lot of time to recruit and develop outstanding staff, and more importantly, keep them. We value them. They are the ones who have their hands on our students, who is our most important commodity. And if you talk about what is our product as a business, it is our students. We need to provide them as many opportunities as we can as a school district, and we need this levy to pass in order to do that. I cannot go over the importance of extracurriculars and what it adds to a student's life, and who is it that we should determine that a student is not exposed to art, music, and PE but not passing a levy? Should we not expose them to athletics? Should we not expose them to extracurriculars where not only do they do their schoolwork during the day, but they go home at night after they go to practice, and then some of them go on and work jobs. That is what raising a child is in a family, and that is our job as a district to make sure we provide these opportunities to these kids. I can't even begin to go into the social and emotional piece of all of this. We need to wrap our arms around our kids. It is very stressful as they are growing up and their body changes starting in middle school through high school, trying to decide what is their life goal, what is the direction they want to go, but also supporting them as college students. When they come back, having them tell their stories, have them come back and talk to our kids, show them what good role models they have become. So again, I ask, I beg, I plead the public to think hard about this. And a week from tomorrow, get out there and vote, because this is about our kids and this is the business we're in. So thank you to the board for putting the levy up and getting an amount that it needs to be. And thank you for everyone who has worked so hard to get us where we are. But your work is not done. We have another 8 days to go.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Todd.
Okay, community comments. Does anybody have any comment, question regarding anything that was talked about tonight? If so, I'm going to have you come to the mic just so that anybody watching can hear the question. Okay. Okay, we will go to board member comments. Diane?
Oh, man. You know, big day's coming up here on November 5th for a lot of reasons. I'm on a countdown for a whole lot of other reasons, but I'm just happy that everybody else will show up and turn out and vote. Exercise your right. If there's some questions or issues or concerns, November 5th is your time to make your voice known. So hope to see you at the polls on November 5th.
Joe?
I originally do not have any ties to the Northwest School District. I'm kind of an outsider, but being a teacher, I know what's going to go on with the teachers if this levy doesn't pass. I have great empathy for you folks. But hopefully we can get it passed. But I've been talking to the St. Ives people, St. James people, and to a certain extent, the ones that were staunchly against voting for it are now turning the other way. So hopefully we can get this levy passed. Thank you.
Mark?
First, I just want to thank all the students and everybody who put the hours in and delivered all the levy paperwork. We've all said it. We need the levy to pass. My request to people who are in support of the levy is that you continue MIND+9, find 9 people to support with yourself, and mathematically that should do it.
Jim?
I just want to echo what everybody said. Let's get out and vote next Tuesday and vote yes for the levy, because there's a lot on the line for our students and our kids of our district. And that's it.
Okay, I wanted to touch base on a couple things. I know Jim in his report had mentioned about the Butler Tech Showcase, but so last Tuesday when the all boards meeting, and for those of you that don't know, Butler Tech is made up of now 11 schools, and each one of those schools has a representative from their school board on the Butler Tech board. And once a year, they have what's called an all boards meeting where the entire boards from each one of those schools are invited here to this campus. This year, they did a showcase, which was just amazing because all the campuses, not just this one, were all open. And you could go to if any of the kids were in the landscaping or the vet tech program, you could go to the farm. You could go to the bioscience building off of 75 to any of those programs. They had all the programs going here. And it was amazing to see the energy and the opportunities that our students get, not only on the campuses of Northwest and Colerain, but here. And it was pretty cool to go in the one class, and all the seniors in that class were all from Colerain High School. And I'm telling you what, they were showing us this stuff from this 3D printer and all these different things they were doing. It was amazing as seniors what all they know how to do already. And one of the most touching things of the evening is the cosmetology program here. They had women that were formerly in prison. Many were drug addicts. Some were prostitutes. They were really down and out, and they went through rehab. They got things together, and then the kids in this cosmetology program did makeovers for these women. And I'm telling you what, number one, it was hard to even get in the room because the room was packed. But then they had all these monitors, and here they interviewed each of these women, and they put up a picture before and put up a picture after. But these women telling their stories, things that most of us can't even imagine, and then to see all of a sudden one of their loved ones come and the interaction, and then the girls that did their makeovers, I mean, everybody had tissues. It was just amazing, but I kept thinking, wow, high school kids, they experienced this. They gave and got as much for each other, and it was just amazing. And then we had a wonderful dinner. It always amazes me, the culinary program here, and we have students both at Northwest and Colerain that are in the culinary program here. And when I talk about dinner, I'm talking duck, I'm talking things, I don't even know what some of it is, desserts to die for, top notch. And then we all came in here, and on this very stage, the fine arts program and the dancers and the singers and the musicians. Dustin Gehring's son was amazing on the key. Well, he's a drummer, but he had to play keyboard, and you would never know that that isn't his #1 instrument. And they rocked this place. So it just made me so proud to know that all of our students get an opportunity to be a part of this in so many ways. And then there's Tuesday. I mean, it's pretty hard to follow what everybody said, but I do want to take a moment to thank some people. A lot of people have done a lot of work to put this together, and it was amazing to see the staff and the students and the coaches and the administrators and everybody out, and some in the bad weather, some waited till Sunday, just out there constantly promoting the schools. So I want to thank everybody that did that. I want to thank everybody from the very beginning. I think this is the first time that we had 1,000 yard signs that were gone like this and people begging for more. And they're in yards and yards I've never seen them in. That is a real feel good to see that. All our big signs were placed. We had 50 big signs that were placed. For the people that put those, we had an employee that took a vacation day so that he could put all those signs out. I want to thank him for that. Our 2 levy chairs, co-chairs, Tim Gaynor, Carrie Robers. I don't think Carrie sleeps. I mean, it's just 24/7 in her vision of this and her passion. And, people like to say, if you don't have kids in the school, you don't have a vested interest. She doesn't have kids in our school anymore, and I'm telling you what, there's nobody more vested than her. So I want to thank all of them too. Jim for being the levy treasurer. I know people don't know behind the scenes and the 52-page report you drove down the other night and many reports to come. I mean, it's a constant thing to keep going, but it's so important, everybody that's working together for this. And it is all about the students. And that's what we got to keep that focus. And Mark's right, the mind plus 9. I mean, we just got to keep that going and keep that going. So I want to thank everybody, but more importantly, please remember to go out and to vote yes for Northwest next Tuesday. And with that, I believe we're going to take a motion to move into executive session.
So we have executive session. The board will approve a motion to move into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official. Superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the motion to move into executive session as listed. Nothing will be announced at the end.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Before we adjourn to this, just to let all of you know, you are more than welcome to stay, but I'm thinking you probably have something more important you'd rather do. We're going to come back and just adjourn the meeting. But again, thank you for driving all the way out here. Zoe, thank you too for always being there. I know you've done a lot with all the students. We want to thank you. You guys get home safe. I know there was an accident on the way here, so everybody be safe going home. Thank you.
That's what I got stuck.
And we'll vote for the executive session.
We're going straight toward the exit door, and then to the left, there's a conference room.
Okay.